Welcome, dear listener, to the Secrets for a Happy Life podcast, born from my desire to share the knowledge I've acquired on leading a better life, interwoven with diverse experiences from my travels, years of studying psychology, and life lessons. I'm Petra Kmetec-Bitenc, your guide on this journey on rediscovering joy, productivity, and the essence of living a fulfilled life. Today's topic is gonna be self-care, and self-care is a really important topic that I would like to go a bit deeper in. Sometimes we feel like we are not doing enough of it, sometimes we feel like we're doing enough of it. So yeah, hello and nice to see you. How are you? How are you?
Good. You were just introducing the topic, so maybe you want to finish with that.
Yeah, I just started to introduce that we're going to talk about self-care today and why self-care is so important, what is self-care, maybe what is not self-care, and we think that is self-care, and just a little bit a discussion. Maybe we also would like to hear from you, for the listeners, what you do for your self-care. I got really good insight from people when I was asking what is self-care for them. And I was like, oh, I never thought of this. So yeah, I really like your feedback. So please share what is self-care for you, and if there is something that we can help you with. And yeah.
Wonderful. So, maybe we can start with you telling us what self-care is for you, Petra, and what's your take on the topic? Why is it actually important that we decided to speak about it today?
Yeah, for me, self-care is everything that brings a better quality into my life. So if this is morning meditation or stretching or going out for a walk, doing some therapy for myself, journaling, all these things that contribute to my better well-being, for my mental health, for my physical health. Also, enough adequate sleep is for me a really good self-care. So, because I think if we don't sleep enough, or we don't eat enough, or we don't move enough, I think this is really, when our body is stressed, then also our minds doesn't work the way we would like to work it. And I think this is something that I consider also as a self-care, to be taking care for my physical body, not only just all these mental aspects, but also for physical body. So what do you consider for self-care? Self-care.
I love the points that you made, because they're so obvious in a way, but they're often overlooked, right? The quality of the sleep and the quantity of the sleep. I mean, especially as we get older, I think we can get away with a lot of neglect towards our body when we are very young. We can just get a couple of hours of sleep after a party and start the day at work and feel okay. But as you get older, the body is less forgiving of such behaviors. So, and we sometimes still try to stretch it. So I think it's really important to realize and it's individual, right? So maybe I need 8 hours of sleep and someone feels good with 6, but finding what that number of hours is and giving it to yourself. And also around the timing of the sleep, there is research proving that the quality of the sleep before midnight is significantly better than what you get afterwards. So maybe you need fewer hours if you go to bed before midnight than you would later on. So trying and experimenting and finding what works for you, and then the quality of the sleep, the temperature in the room, having the dark space, all of those really contribute a lot. And avoiding the screen just before going to bed, and all sorts of really basic things, but they have a very big impact on our lives. So I love that you brought it up, because we almost overlook that. And also the kind of food that we just being mindful, and again, knowing what works for you. I don't believe in those kind of blanket statements that this is good, this is bad. And there are so many contradictory beliefs and statements. I think it's really listening to your body and figuring out what works for you. So yeah, I'm totally with you on all the basic physical self-care items. And then I would also distinguish perhaps between almost like actions, like journaling and yoga, meditation, etc., and more of almost beings, the way you are in life. And in that I would include, just listening to your body, prioritizing yourself, and setting boundaries. And I think boundaries is something that you work quite a lot with. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about is it a book that you publishing on that, or what is it your work around boundaries? I think this is an important piece of self-care.
Yeah, I wrote a book around how to prioritize yourself by setting boundaries. So it's more about how to have better relationship when you set good boundaries, because relationships are also, I think, a really big part of our lives. Like we were talking about this earlier. So if we are not good in our relationships, if we don't know how to deal with those invisible lines where we start, where somebody else begins, then we have maybe some problems and we neglect ourselves because of that. So I wrote a book, and you are most welcome to buy it. And but boundaries, for my personal point of view, is in terms of self-care, is what also for me, what do I allow myself? If I feel like one glass of wine every day will lose my mind and I will feel better because of that, this is not self-care, and this is also some boundary that I need to put myself with, or too much scrolling on Instagram, or some other activities that are not contributing for my benefit. So we have different kind of boundaries, and I was writing a lot about all of these boundaries in the book. It's not like a really big book, it's a tiny book, but yeah. So thank you for bringing that up. And also, importance of, I found by myself, and you're expert on that, if I breathe really shallow, then I start getting headaches. So and if I get a headache, then my whole day is ruined. So I think this is also something that we could practice, these breathing exercises, and you can teach us more about that.
Yeah, and on the boundaries, please put a link under the video later on, so whoever's listening to us, if they want to check out your books, they can do so. And I'm really curious to see it myself, because I have not read it yet. And I really also love the point that you made around, we'll get to the breathing in a bit, but before I forget, the point that you were making about one glass of wine every day, or scrolling Instagram and so on. It's an interesting take at it from the boundaries perspective, but also if we look at it from self-care perspective, I think what quite often is seen in our society is almost like self-care is doing something for ourselves, but I think there is a fine line between indulging those kind of cravings that help us numb the feelings, and actually doing something that contributes to us in a long term, that is aligned with our values, goals in life, etc. And if you are having that glass of wine or 10 glasses of wine in a very fancy restaurant every day, and it seems like you're living the best life, or whatever that caption is, are you really trying to numb something and avoid something? And this is not to blame, really. I believe that even if you're finding, and I find myself, I'm not perfect, I find myself, and I notice if I spend too much time scrolling on social media, I pause now and I'm like, what's going on? What actually bothers me? And I think that self-care, actually pausing, recognizing the behaviors, that's not blaming it, not judging it, but saying, okay, something is off. What's going on? And then inquiring and investigating and learning from it. And so going back to breathing, I discovered this tool, which is, again, we're born with it, right? So that's how we kind of come into this world, and we take the first breath, which is a big one, and I think we focus a lot on that. But then we kind of take our breathing for granted unless we have any problem with lungs later on. But the quality of breathing again is so important. And as you said, the shallow breathing, again, the mind-body connection works both ways. So when you find yourself in a very stressful situation, in a life-threatening situation, which may not even be a life-threatening as such, but the brain may interpret it, and you find yourself in that fight, flight, freeze response, that's when you usually go into shallow chest breathing, because the organism wants to conserve the energy, right? So and you want to be quiet so the predators that used to surround us do not find you. So that was the biological response. But now it also works the other way around. If you breathe that way, your mind thinks, okay, I'm in danger. So then you're stuck in that loop, and you can break out of the loop from either way as well. So you can start by noticing how you breathe or how you feel, and you can slow down and take deep, slow breath into your belly and breathe out. And there are various techniques, and you can do most people know the box breathing, where you say inhale to the count of 4, hold for the count of 4, exhale to the count of 4, and hold for the count of 4. And you may do 4, 5, whatever is comfortable, but they're equal. And there are different techniques, but the idea is to breathe slowly and deep into the belly, and that signals to your brain that you are safe. That's when you can allow to take these breaths. And of course, 1 or 2 breaths will not really change the dynamic, but if you do it for 90 seconds to 2 minutes, that's when you can notice the shift. And there are different also breath work techniques and journeys that I facilitate and offer, and if you're interested in that. And that's kind of a biggest shift in releasing the trauma that's stuck in the body, all the emotions that are there, and everything's unprocessed. It's almost therapy without needing to talk to anyone. You just process it. So if anyone is interested and wants to find out more, please reach out to me. I'm super excited about it, so I'll share all the details.
That is super exciting, and I would like to talk a bit more about that maybe on some other day also, so we can go into depths of this, because I think this is really important, and we don't, like you said, we don't think about our way of breathing and what we can benefit if we do it more deliberately, if we really focus on it and put a little bit more energy and thinking into it. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Did you have any experiences maybe with clients that they thought they are doing something for themselves in terms of self-care, or let me ask you from different perspective, if they neglected self-care, and what were the consequences of that?
Okay, so the first one that comes to mind in response to your last question, and I think this is so common with parents, and actually parents of both genders. People tend to prioritize the kids, which is kind of natural in many ways, and then they completely neglect themselves, which you think, yes, the intention is good to look after the kids and put their needs first and take them to different activities, etc. But the problem with that is the best thing you can do for your kids is actually give them a calm, regulated parent who is really feeling good about themselves. And so it's almost like in the airplane, you need to put the mask on first before you can. They may not be doing 5 different types of sports and music activities and whatever else. They may do one, or even they may skip it. But if they have a tuned parent who is there for them, who helps them regulate their emotions, this is so much more important. So I think this is a big trap to be mindful of. About what was the first one?
If you had any experience with clients or with yourself that you were thinking, I'm not doing anything for myself, and then you realized maybe, I'm actually doing it a lot.
Yeah, I think, some of the basic ones are really that we don't sometimes recognize are spending time in nature. This is so important, and you're doing a lot of that. A bit more difficult now in Dubai with 45 degrees, but spending time in nature whenever possible, just walking in nature. And another simple one is really connecting with people, having meaningful conversations with your friends, with your colleagues. And you may be surrounded by people all the time, going out in noisy bars. You kind of are around people, but you're not connecting if it's noisy and you're just there together watching football or whatever. And at the same time, you might connect for 2 minutes, but with a delivery person who brings you the food, and you just say, hi, how are you, you know? Or I was just met someone in a supermarket yesterday, and they just started having conversation with this lady out of nowhere, and that was connecting. So I think just entering any interaction intentionally is very good opportunity for self-care. And yeah, what about you? What were your experiences, or from your clients maybe?
I had quite interesting conversations, and one was like, oh, I really don't have time for myself, I should do more. And when we were talking and investigating what is in their week, then they actually found out that they do so much stuff for themselves, and then it was, oh, I'm actually doing a lot for myself, I feel so much better now. But just to put an awareness on the activities that we are actually already doing may help. Like, I don't know if you know that research, when they were I think that they observed some ladies who were managing the hotels, cleaning the hotels, cleaning the hotel rooms, and they told them, okay, now you know that this what you are doing, it's actually an exercise. And when they start to look at it like exercise, they were feeling much better, because they were like, okay, this is not just a job that I'm not enjoying, but this is something that I do for my body, that I'm good with it. And then everything was okay suddenly. So this is just a shift in a perspective, in a point of view. And the other thing, I think if you don't put any time for self-care, so if you just work, or you feel really stressed, or like you said with parents, that they just put all their time, their prioritization to the child's needs, I saw many cases that really led to burnout. And if you are burned out, that is not fun, and it's really hard to come back from. So I think this is also something to consider, to just think about, what am I doing? Am I doing enough for me, for my self-care? And I wouldn't say self-care is just bubble bath or going for a walk or meditation, but it's something that I enjoy. And if this is like to switch my brains off by watching one Netflix series per day or in the evening, okay. If this is for you, self-care for yourself, okay, you know, if you really enjoy it, go out in the nature also, because I think they made a quite huge research. If you spend at least 20 minutes per day outside, then you feel much happier in your life overall. So go out, be outside in the sun, or if it's a cloudy day, just be outside and stare into something green, into nature. Yeah, because we don't wanna have burnout people, because it's not fun, it's not okay.
Yeah, I think it's more like we often start thinking about this when it's almost too late, or not too late, but it's more difficult to recover from. But if you do it as a preventive measure, and it's something, it doesn't need to be very time consuming. It could be something small. You set out 10 minutes a day for yourself. You either wake up early or you go to bed later, and you do a breathing exercise, or you do a stretch, or you go for a walk, whatever it might be. But just this mindful 15 minutes, 10 minutes a day for yourself, that will make such a big difference. And yeah, I think what also happens a lot, people are almost focusing on vacation. So it's like, yeah, I'm gonna kill myself for 6 months. I'm just gonna be like a hamster on a wheel, just working and doing things, and then, but I have holidays planned for 10 days. I'm going away in those 10 days. You'll be just recovering and coming out of that whole situation, and then by the time you actually are ready to do something, you need to go back and jump back on that wheel. So holidays are amazing, but I really would invite you to try and include something and add something to your daily lives or a weekly routine that really energizes you. And again, find what works for you. Don't say, well, they say yoga is good, I'll sign up for yoga. If you don't like it, it's not your thing. You know, maybe you like to play tennis, or you like to go dancing. Whatever makes you feel more alive, just try and make space for that. And
what do you do for self-care?
Well, you know, I really love playing paddle. I used to go dancing. I do less of that now because of the timing mostly. I love reading. So reading is really my self-care routine as well. And breathing is something that I've added recently, but it's my daily practice. And obviously breathing, I mean, not just the breathing away to survive, but in a more intentional way as a practice. What about you?
I like to spend time in nature. So lately we hike a lot, or I just like to go outside or just sit outside and just be on the sun, be in the fresh air. And this is something that I really feel energizes me. I also like to read. I like to listen to the podcasts. I like to meditate. So there are many different activities. Also, when I feel that my body is tired, I really love bubble bath. So,
yeah.
It's not that bubble bath is not self-care, but it's not the only self-care. Talking with friends, this for me is also something that is really nurturing for me. That I feel this connection, and that I have somebody that I can trust, that I have somebody that I can call whenever I feel like I want to share something good, or if I want to share some burden. So this is also a big thing for me in terms of self-care. And I mentioned in the beginning, I asked people what is self-care for them. And I got so many answers that self-care for people is painting or just drawing something. And I was like, lovely, I love this. And also sitting in silence by the lake or by the water, or reading, or making some music. So thank you guys for guys for your contribution to that. It's really valuable, so thank you. And you reminded me on painting, because I really like to paint sometimes and I don't take time for that, and it's precious. Any suggestion for people who maybe are fresh in I don't think somebody is fresh in self-care, but maybe just to nudge them a bit, what to do, why is it important? We said many things, but yeah.
I think important to prevent burnout and not wait until you break down with depression, panic attacks, etc. Just really include something for yourself. You really deserve it, and you don't need to do anything to deserve it. Like, allow yourself to do something for you, and if you're a parent, you are doing it for the benefit of your child as well. You're not being selfish. And find what it is for you, what makes you really joyful and alive. And one thing that came to my mind is also, you know, when you were speaking about painting, don't be afraid to try something new, because very often we think, well, I've never painted, you know. I think I mentioned in one of our talks that till a few years ago, I thought that I was horrible at it, and that's a belief I picked up from my surrounding when I was growing up. I was like, I'm horrible, so what's the point, you know? My sister is so amazing at it, and I'm like, no, useless. And then when I tried, it actually was much better than I expected. So I do it sometimes, but I was denying myself that joy because of a belief I picked up when I was 4 years old. So I would encourage everyone, try something new. You'll probably suck at it first time around, and it's okay. But if you have fun in the meantime, maybe you want to try it again. And trying new things is also good for the developing your brain and keeping yourself young. So go for it.
Amazing. And you reminded me, I tried working with clay when I was back in Slovenia, and that was so much fun. And I thought, why I haven't done this before, because it was really awesome. One question. You do breath work also online, or only person in person?
I do online as well. I do encourage people who have not tried it to at least try it once, especially those who are based in Dubai, to try it in person. It's a bit easier to do it online when you've already experienced it once. It's still quite effective online, but yeah, basically both. But if you get a chance to do it in person, give it a try as well, because then I can really help and guide. Sometimes people the mind doesn't want us to go deep and it starts acting up. I did a session recently where the client started falling asleep because the mind didn't want to go there. And because I was there in person, I could put a hand on her and say, come on, keep breathing. And then she really went into it. But there are these defenses playing out. And of course, it's a little bit more difficult to do online because I can't really touch the person, but still effective.
So I can join.
Yeah, absolutely.
From far, far, far away.
Yeah,
just leave the link, please. Yeah.
Okay. Something you want to mention before we wrap up? It's turned out to be a longer one again. Huh?
Yeah, we said 10 to 20 minutes. This one is going to be a really short one today, but yeah, we love to talk and it's okay. And I think we bring value to people. So I love our conversation and hopefully the viewers also. And thank you for being here. And yeah, I'm grateful for all of you. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And wishing everyone a really good week. And
yes,
take care of yourselves.
Yeah, in whatever way, but not in a harmful way. So a really nice, easy way. Enjoy, and thank you for this lovely conversation again, and see you next Monday.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.